Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taramina.
Welcome to OAA Now. I'm Sammy Taramina, blogger of the Dragon's Den, blog of Inside the OAA, and one of the hosts of Between Taraminas on Orion Neighborhood Television. I'd like to welcome our friends watching on Oxford Community Television and also those watching on YouTube. Interesting show today we got here. Of course, I was supposed to have a guest this week, Nick Linesman, but he decided to decline to come. So, well, we got some news surrounding him and what happened to and could it be an indicator of what happens to Chris Farr and his staff at Waterford Vermont? Also, we got baseball, softball, girls soccer, and girls lacrosse. We'll recap the regionals from baseball, softball, girls soccer, and the state final from girls lacrosse. Of course, Birmingham United was in that one against Rockford. And we also got boys soccer districts were released the other day, and also the Oak Park boys basketball coaching situation, how that'll be decided this week. So we got a lot to talk about today here on the podcast here. So here's what we got here. Of course, let's go with baseball, softball, girls soccer. Recapping the regional and also previewing the quarterfinals, especially heading into the games this week. So let's go with baseball first. Of course, we had one regional, which was an all-OA regional. It was at Bloomfield Hills. Of course, it had Rochester Adams, Rochester Troy, and Groves. Of course, those teams, Groves, of course, had that unbelievable upset of Birmingham Brother Rice in the district final. Rochester Adams, of course. You got to look at whoever would have won the Adams-Groves district would have been the favorite to win this regional, but it was not meant to be, though. It was shocking to say that. I mean, with the Rochester Falcons, how they came out of nowhere and they had to survive Troy 2-0. And then, of course, pulling off, I think, was one of the monumental upsets around the whole league was when they upset Rochester Adams 12-9. Now, yeah, Eric Mangini's team, of course, he's had to go through a lot of injuries, this year. But nobody expected him to beat Adams, especially the way they did. Put up 12 runs on a good pitching staff. Now, Adams' pitching staff kind of was struggling throughout the day, and it showed its ugly head in that matchup with Rochester. Of course, Rochester started off having a 7-2 lead. Adams scored 7 unanswered in the 5th inning, took a 9-7 lead, and then Rochester responded in the 6th inning, scoring 5 runs to take a 12-9 lead, and that lead just held up into that victory for Rochester. You look at Rochester, though, the season they've had this year, they've had an average season. You know what I mean? They've had an up and down campaign. They finished the year at they finished almost at 500. They've won some huge games in the state tournament. Of course, knocking off Stony Creek, knocking off Utica Eisenhower in extra innings, and then having to go through Troy and having to go through Rochester Adams. But the first game with Adams and Groves, you got to look at in that one. Adams, of course, won that one 10-6. Of course, Groves was still riding an emotional high after knocking off Birmingham Brother Rice in the district final. And then to go up against a very good Adams team, it was kind of like a very tough thing to do for them. But when you look at what Groves did, of course, a lot of people are going to say that upset of Birmingham Brother Rice, taking out a state power, it was huge. And then going up against Adams, who's played a division up, 2 divisions up. It was going to be a tough matchup for Groves in that one, and it ended up being that way for Groves, and Adams moved on with the 10-6 win because they had just enough offense to win that one. But it was shocking to say how Adams would lose to Rochester, a team that they've beaten 3 times in the regular season. Of course, Adams, of course, winning the Red this year. And then to lose, especially your arch rival. This is the second straight year that Adams has lost to a team that's went to the quarterfinals in the low, either in the same division or in the lower division. So when you look at what happened there, was nobody expected Adams to go out this far into the tournament. A lot of people thought it would be Adams going to the quarterfinal. It's Rochester going. And now you look at the quarterfinal matchup in the state quarterfinals. They're taking on the defending state champion, Heartland Eagles. Of course, Heartland, very good team, no doubt about. They got a very good pitcher in Lockheimer. Of course, he's a lefty. He's overcame a lot of injuries in the season. And you look at what Nathan Lohmeyer, of course, he's pitching next year at Bowling Green. Of course, he was huge against Novi Detroit Catholic Central in the regional. They got some very good hitters, too, of course. This Heartland Eagles team, the senior-heavy team, of course, they're led by Hunter Deloney, Max Hendricks, Jack Sylvain, Alexander Vandrick, and John Baker. Of course, this is the same Heartland team that took Howell out. Of course, Howell was ranked in the state most of the year. Heartland, though, did start the season at 1-3. They managed to go ever since, and they managed to go 31-2 since. So this is going to be a very difficult match for Rochester going forward against a very good Heartland team, and I think it's going to be a very difficult matchup for them to overcome. So like I said, I think this is going to be the end of the road for the Rochester Falcons in their quest. I'd be shocked they pull off the upset. It would be a monumental upset if they do upset Heartland on Tuesday. So this would be a heck of an upset if they do pull it off, but I just don't see it happening, to be honest with you. Girls soccer, of course, we got a big one on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. It's Novi taking on Stony Creek. Of course, Stony Creek is an interesting team. Of course, they've had to go through 4 state-ranked teams just to get here. Of course, they took out Utica Ford early in the district semifinals. They were ranked 8th in the state. They took out the second-ranked and unbeaten Utica Eisenhower in the district finals. And then, of course, they took out 4th-ranked Macomb Dakota. And then now they took out 6th-ranked Troy Athens. So when you look at what Stony Creek, they're ranked 10th in the state, but this Cougar team really has had a murder's row of a schedule. And now they get to play 3rd-ranked Novi, which is going to be a very interesting dynamic. But an interesting story to this line is they are at home. And being at home kind of really helps if you know the surroundings, you know the field, you're going up against a team that you should know quite well. Of course, Novi has had an incredible season themselves. They took out Grand Blanc. Of course, Grand Blanc, one of the top teams in the state of Michigan. They took them out, and here they are. And Novi's a team that, if they're one of those teams expected to be in the state championship rounds, of course, this is a Novi team that's really, really good. Stony Creek will have their hands full. But if there's a team I think that can handle this pressure, I think it is the Cougars, especially what they've done this year. They've went through virtually hell and back with their schedule because with their district, they've also played a murder's row of schedule in the Red Division. And it's not an easy path for them, virtually when you have to go hell and back basically for what they've had to go through with Stony Creek. But when you look at the Cougar season, of course, it's been an interesting year for them. Of course, they didn't win the Red this year. But like I said, if you're playing well at the right time, you're going to go places. And I think Stony Creek right now playing very well at the right time, right now. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, Stony Creek did knock out Troy Athens. A very good game at Troy Athens, 1-0. Of course, huge win for the Cougars against the Red Hawks at Troy Athens' home field. So we'll see what happens there when we get there. Lacrosse, will briefly recap them. Of course, girls lacrosse, Birmingham United. Of course, the Bulldogs lost 12-9 to Rockford. Of course, they had a girl score 7 goals. But Rockford, very experienced team. End of the day, though, I don't know how that it would have been a really impossible task for the Bulldogs to pull this off against a very good Rockford team. Everything looked good early for them, no doubt about it. But end of the day, they just couldn't get through, and that's why Rockford ended up winning state championship in girls lacrosse. And last but not least, we got softball. Of course, this is a huge game. Of course, a lot of people have been looking at this game. Of course, the Orion winning their first regional since 2004, knocking off Romeo 6-1. Of course, they went through Birmingham Grove. Of course, they went through Groves 11-1. Romeo knocked off Troy Athens 6-0. But the Dragons' path really has been difficult. When you look at the way their offense has been, they've gotten some timely hits. They played some very good softball lately. Their defense, I thought, was great in that regional, only allowing 2 runs. You look at this Dragon team, nobody seems to know a lot about them. Of course, I think that, especially from the state media, and this is a team I think that, when they beat Clarkston, when they beat Oxford, you kind of had a feeling that this could be a special team after beating Clarkston, beating Oxford. And those type of teams can go far into the playoffs. Now, when you look at the state quarterfinal matchup, who they got on Tuesday, it's going to be Farmington Hills Mercy. Now, Mercy has been one of those teams, very unique, this is a good team, very good team that they're up against. Of course, they have a very good hitter, and I don't understand why she's from Brighton, but she's going to be going to Mobile next year, and Abby Krzyzewski, of course, she's a girl who's likely to be Miss Softball Michigan, broken the state home run record that's been out for a long while. She's at a .565 batting average. She had 20 home runs, according to the state record, and 90 RBIs. Of course, when you look at, but besides Krzyzewski, they have other good players too. You look at, they have a very good pitcher in Andrea Elmore. Of course, you look at what she's done. She's 28-1 this season, and you look at, and they also have some very talented players as well. When you look at Kari Padula is going to go to Western Michigan next year. Very good player. Anna Dixon. They also have an all-stater from a year ago. And Soapy Van Acker. I mean, you look at this. Everything seems to be stacked against the Dragons like it is. And it looks like this is a mismatch on paper. It is a mismatch on paper. But that's why they play the game. State champs, of course, they've given all the hype surrounding Farmington Hills Mercy. They especially given it to Krzyzewski, what her accomplishments are. I mean, what the mission is with Farmington Hills Mercy. I don't understand Mercy's. I really don't understand why they're getting its attention. Is it because of Krzyzewski? Is it because of that? And they're going up against, looking at their playoff race so far, they've blown everybody out with the exception of Lakeland in the regional semifinals. They only won that 3-0. When they played Plymouth a couple weeks ago, they were just completely shut down by Plymouth. It can be had. It can be done. every team is human, even a Catholic League team. You look at a lot of upsets with Catholic League teams. You look at the Catholic League is not they're not this all-world beating conference. They're not. Although I'm not a huge fan of how they recruit players, they have to go through different areas to get them. Of course, you have Abby Krzyzewski, as I mentioned earlier. She's from Brighton. And then you look at, but these Catholic League teams, they like to go after players. You know what I mean? Like, who are very good. Is it for college scholarship perspective? I don't know. But, when you go to a Catholic school, you got to wear a school uniform. And I'm not a huge fan of that. Not being mean. But you look at this matchup between Orion and Farmington Hills Mercy. Orion ranked 6th in the state. Farmington Hills Mercy ranked 2 in the state. This matchup here, Farmington Hills Mercy's gotten all the attention, everything I felt to them is given to them because they're on a mission to get on that state title, to get a state title. They gotta play. They're trying to avenge a loss from last year where they lost to Caledonia in the region in the state semifinals in East Lansing. But in their way stands Lake Orion. And you look at this team, this is a Dragon team, of course, that really has, I'm not saying they have nothing to lose. This is a very young softball team here. But I'm saying, this Orion team's got some fire in their own. Of course, when you look at Shelby Mishak, you look at Peyton Shadiah, you look at a Cassidy Carson. These are girls that have college scholarships too. Not the extent of what Farmington Hills Mercy has. Of course, when you have Krzyzewski going to Mobile, Alabama next year. Or a Pradella who's going to Western Michigan next year. But I'm saying to you is that it just doesn't matter, And I'm going to use a term from Ric Flair here. You want to be the man? You got to beat the man. And for Farmington Hills Mercy, it's like that. It's got to be like that. And and for Orion, if you want to be one of the best teams, you got to beat Mercy. Of course, Mercy's a team on this mission. Krzyzewski, yeah, she's a good softball player. I don't think she deserves the hype she's getting. That's just my thoughts. But when I look at this game with Orion and Farmington Hills Mercy, this is a game where you got to throw all the records out the window. Yeah, Mercy's got experience. I understand that. But my source I talked to said this team could be had. And I think they can be had. It depends if Orion's offense shows up and shows up consistently. Because the Marlins are going to get to Sierra Gonzalez. They will get to her. It's just how Orion handles it. Their defense has to be perfect against the Marlins. They cannot allow loop singles. They can't allow a lot of that. They can't allow anything against Farmington Hills Mercy. The reason why I said Orion would upset Farmington Hills Mercy on Tuesday is because I like how this offense has been operating. Getting timely hits, being consistent, ready to compete. I think the Dragons will show up in this game. The question will be will the Marlins show up? I expect that they will show up in this game, but if you have a good pitcher, you're going to shut Farmington Hills Mercy down. And that's what, a good pitcher, good defense will shut good teams down. And Farmington Hills Mercy, of course, they're on this mission to go back to East Lansing. They have one of the best players in the state of Michigan in Krzyzewski. But the question is, Mercy's played a tough schedule early. They played Caledonia. They played a tough schedule. Catholic League, not so much. OAA schedule, Mercy's played some OAA teams, yes. But Orion's played some very tough teams in the Doubt with Clarkston and Oxford. So I think Orion upsets Mercy on Tuesday. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about the situation going on at Waterford Mott here on OAA Now.
I'm Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard and former Red Wing great Joey Koster reminding you to follow the rules regarding boater safety. Always operate at safe speeds, avoid alcohol, and wear a life jacket. Don't let a great day on the water be ruined by bad decisions.
Welcome back to OAA Now. I'm Sammy Termina here. You look at what's going on around the football landscape, of course. We talked about the what was going on at Waterford Mott. And now there was a domino that fell with the Corsairs football program, of course. Nick Linesman, who was supposed to be my guest today here on the podcast, was forced out on Friday from the Waterford School District. Of course, he was abruptly forced to resign from the Waterford football program, from the Waterford Mott football program by the Waterford School District. And you look at the investigation that they're still doing. Of course, the investigation's still ongoing. And, with Linesman, he served 6 seasons as freshman coach of the school. He was in the front. He was allegedly of undue influence. Of course, we know that is to bring influence of players from different school districts and, to bring them over to Waterford Mott. Of course, he had the blessing of Waterford Mott football coach Chris Farr in doing this. And it looks like here that Linesman is the fallout guy from what happened. And I don't know if this will save Chris Farr's job. I really don't know. But, he did admit to investigators that he did send flyers to both Mason and Pierce middle schools. Of course, Mason and Pierce are both the middle schools that feed students from Waterford Kettering and Waterford Mott to Waterford Mott and also Waterford Kettering. Of course, you look at feeder schools, of course, you look at Lake Orion, you got Scripps-Wall and Oakview, Oxford Middle School, Clarkson, Sashaba, Stony Creek, you got East, you got Hart, and then you got parts of Ruther. Of course, Ruther does feed in the Rochester and also West a little bit, and also West and Van Heusen with Adams in Rochester. Of course, I'm not going to mention all the other middle schools. Of course, we all know how the middle school systems are feeding their students into what high schools. Of course, with Baker Bowen Park, of course, going to Troy and Troy Athens. So, very interesting situation with what happened there. What Linesman did was he sent flyers to both middle schools, Mason and Pierce. And you cannot do that under MHA rules because there are students that go to Waterford Kettering, especially if you're from Pierce, who is going and you look at it here it's against MHA rule that you cannot have you can't send flyers. They prohibit flyers from students who are heading to Waterford Kettering, and it's really like an unfair competitive advantage when you look at it. Of course, he did send messages influencing students who are now at Avondale to come to Waterford Mott through his Facebook account. Of course, I do follow Linesman on Facebook. And, when I heard about this, I was just shocked, stunned, and saddened by it. He does feel he was left out to dry because of this situation. And, he's not guilty. he really is not guilty. But really not guilty, from doing this. I think, he admitted it, and, and he was let go by the Waterford by the Waterford School District. Now, this investigation, though, still not complete. Of course, the Waterford School District did hand over the investigation to the MHSAA. Of course, the MHSAA now is going to determine their punishment on what should happen to Chris Farr and his staff over there. Of course, Farr, we know, of course, there is evidence from Detroit Free Press sports writer Nick McCabe that, of course, last month he went to a gathering where there were over 60 football players at Waterford, Vermont, and they were going through drills and contacts. Under MHA rules, you can only have a limit of 4 players, and a coach to be there. And you can't. And at Mott, they had 60 kids there, and also some players from Pierce and Mason were there. And there was some tension. There were some rumblings that he had players from other schools there, and that's against MHA rules. You can't have a gathering. You can't have camps. You can't have that until the Sunday after Memorial Day. And what happened on that day was, I got to give Nick McCabe a lot of credit. You know what I mean? He went to Mott, saw what was going on, and that he busted him. He basically busted him. And you look at, is Waterford Mott football a dirty program? If Farr's been doing this for years, then you have to consider that, are the Corsairs a dirty program? The last 2 years they've had a lot of success. They've been combined 12-6, made the playoffs last 2 years. They brought in some key transfers. Of course, everybody knows about Desmond Fitzpatrick. Of course, he came over from Farmington to Waterford Mott. It kind of was inevitable he came over there. They added a quarterback there from Grand Ledge who came over last season. And then, of course, you look at this year with Keith Fields coming over from Lake Orion to go play for Waterford Mott. I mean, you look at a definition of a dirty program. I mean, it's hard for me to say there are dirty programs in the state of Michigan, but for a program to go this low and to get recruits from other districts to try to influence them to come play for Waterford Mott, and then if they refuse and to bash them out, you know what I mean, then you are a dirty program. And what I don't understand is you have a feeder school feeding you kids to go play for your football program, and you're trying to influence those who could play on your team to influence your team. It's illegal recruiting. You know what I mean? It's illegal recruiting to go out and get the players that you desire, you want to get on your team. Now, if they transfer in the district, then that's fine. If they transfer in district, that's fine. But you can't go out there and get kids who are out of your district, come play for you. Of course, there is schools of choice program. There's a school of choice program out there. Some of the kids have taken advantage of that program, you know what I mean, to benefit themselves based on an educational purpose standpoint. But do I think Waterford Mott's a dirty program? When I look at the punishment and the ramifications of this, to me, this reminds me a whole lot of SMU because of what happened to them. The only difference is there's no money involved here. because when I look at this to bring a player, promising them they would be good, promising them that they would be to get them a college scholarship, and this has the ammunition of an SMU because, and everybody knows what happened to SMU in the late 1980s when they ended up getting the death penalty from this. Now the MHAA version of a death penalty is the head coaching staff will be banned for 4 years, but the program doesn't get shut down. Do I wish the MHAA should go to that and shut down a program for a couple of years? Yeah, because you look at how you shut down how if you have a program that's been cheating, have been cheating the system, how can you not shut down a program for a few years? Happened to SMU, could happen to Baylor. When you look at what they've gone through, and why not here? I mean, what happens here? What happens to Farr and his staff? If you punish Farr and his staff, you kick them out for 4 years. Now the Waterford School District's going to have to get a new staff and bring them in. Then you got another issue very similar to that of the Ohio State scandal. Of course, we remember what happened with Jim Tressel and 4 of his players, which included Terrell Pryor, Dan Herron. They were caught with illegal tattoos. You look at with them, they ended up getting canned before the season started, and Ohio State had to go get an interim coaching staff with Luke Fickell back in 2011, and then next year they brought Urban Meyer, and Ohio State's been Ohio State's ever since. I think this is what's going to happen at Waterford. I believe the MHA is going to find Farr and his staff guilty. They're going to ban him for 4 years. Now, and I think that Waterford is going to have to get a whole new staff in place for the season. For this year, of course, their first game is August the 26th against Macomb Latchcoos North. We don't know how the players are going to respond to this, but when you look at, I know a lot of parents are very upset with linesmen. But when you're part of a football culture, that I view linesman as one of the guys who was caught up in the culture of Chris Farr, what he's done. Of course, linesman served 6 years. Farr, this will be his 5th season coming in, if he does coach. Of course, a lot of things are looking like with linesman, he's the fallout guy to Farr. And everybody says Farr might get away with it easy. I don't think he's getting away with it easy. Here, I think the MHA's got to come down hard. They've got to come down swift and say, you know what? You got to go for 4 years. You got to be suspended for 4 years. You got to be, you and your staff, for what you guys have done, because these are serious charges. We have evidence here that you did this. We have evidence here that you brought in players, and it was at his blessing that he did this. And what happened was, and it's a very, very unfortunate situation that occurred here, but you look at the damages you've done, and you have to pay the consequences. This occurred under your watch, and you have to pay for it. You have to pay for it, and if it costs your job, you have to be suspended for 4 years, then I think you got to be suspended 4 years. Now, you may deny it all you want to, but there's a lot of damning evidence here. and it's damaging because you look at what happened in this situation. Of course, the athletic director, Edison Sartorius, has not commented on this matter, but this is a whole mess. This is very difficult. This is terrible. And what makes you think Waterford Mott's doing this? What makes you think they're doing this? There may be other schools that are doing the same thing. You look at the situation, but Waterford Mott got caught, and they're going to have to pay a deep price. And a lot of people I'm still shocked that Farr's still coaching this team. If he gets away unharmed because of this, then there's going to be a lot of people going like this. Because by the looks of it, it's making look like Nick Linesman's the fallout guy. And you can't, and of course, but the head coach has to take the fall too. And this is going to be very interesting, especially when the MHA does release its recommendations to the Waterford School District about Chris Farr and his employment. I mean, do I think the Waterford School District should fire Farr? I think they should. And do I think the MHA should drop the hammer? I think they should. Because a lot of people say now, the last 2 seasons, Waterford Mott football has been very good, been getting better. Before that, they were just horrible, awful. They were horrible. And to have these two charges against you, it's looking more and more like that these allegations are proven to be true, and it can go in either. And now we're just waiting for the opinion of what's going on in Lansing with the MHA. I think the MHA, if they don't drop the hammer on this case, then I think there's a huge problem with the MHA. A lot of people have been critical of the MHA. I've been critical of the MHA a couple times. But when you look at it here, this is a perfect opportunity for Jack Roberts to just put in the MHA Discipline Committee to drop the hammer down. They have to. If they don't, I'd be very disappointed and very ashamed. My final thoughts on Waterford Mott, on Nick Linesman, of course, he's the first domino to fall in this because of what happened. Now, we don't know if he was pressured to be forced out. We don't know if I know he didn't resign on his own. So, somebody had to force him out over there at Mott. And, and going on his Facebook about how devastated he was, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. It was a shock to a lot of people. It's Waterford Mott Dairy program. I think when you look at the evidence that they have, the MHA has, what Nick McKay's article has, it definitely tells, I think, that Waterford Mott has a dirty program. And what happens to Farr and his staff? I talked to a lot of people about this. They want him to drop the hammer. I expect him to drop the hammer. And if the league doesn't, I'd be very disappointed with the MHA. If they don't drop the hammer on the Waterford Mott football program. So, like I said, we'll keep an eye on the situation here on OAA Now and also on the Inside the OA blog. Very interesting news coming out of Waterford looking at this situation, and we'll keep an eye on it as we get more information from both parties. So now when we come back, of course, as I mentioned, forgot to mention Waterford Mod, of course, they're in the Kensington Lakes Athletic Association, of course. But it can happen anywhere, even in OA school. So we'll see what happens. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about boys soccer district releases and also the Oak Park boys basketball situation. They could have a head coach in this week. You're on OAA Now.
We own a Habitat home.
I love working on my Habitat home.
Soy dueño de una casa de Habitat.
My neighbor is a Habitat homeowner.
Being a Habitat homeowner has changed our lives.
My mortgage payment for Habitat is less than what I pay for rent.
Habitat for Humanity of Oakland County currently has homes available with mortgage payments lower than most rent payments. If you or someone you know needs decent and affordable housing, call 248-338-1843 or visit our website at habitatoakland.org.
Welcome back to OAA Now. Here I'm Sammy Termina here. Of course, very interesting stories here. Of course, baseball, softball, girls soccer, and of course now we have the domino falling in effect. Of course, let's look at the boy. Of course, the MHA did release their soccer districts for the 2016-2017 season. Of course, this is very interesting, especially with the how soccer is released. Of course, you look at how it's set up. Of course, let's look at our first based on regions and districts. Of course, they haven't decided where the locations of the districts will be at yet, but the teams together have been announced. So here's our first district. Of course, Region 3, District 9. This is where Oak Park will be at. They got Oak Park, Hamtramck, Detroit Cass Tech, Detroit Western International, Detroit University, Detroit Jesuit, Grosse Pointe North, Grosse Pointe South, Dearborn, Fortson. Very interesting district. A couple Wayne County teams. You got a couple Macomb County teams, and you got one Oakland County team, and that's Oak Park. So very interesting that they would put Oak Park down south and also east. So it'll be very interesting. That was an interesting draw that Oak Park got against. I think it's going to be an interesting district down there, but you got to look at the Grosse Pointe schools, early favorite, maybe Dearborn, Fortson, possibly, but we'll see what happens down there in that district. So very interesting, odd district over there. Let's go to Region 3, District 10. Of course, this one here has Troy Athens in it, and they got them going into Macomb County with Utica 4, Utica, Warren Cousino, Warren Mott, Sterling Heights, Stevenson, and Sterling Heights. Very interesting district, doesn't mean Troy Athens going back east. It's going to be very unique, especially, it's odd that Troy Athens are not split up. Troy Athens are split up this year in soccer because you're kind of used to seeing Troy and Troy Athens together in a district. So it's very, very interesting to see those teams drawn up. Region 4, District 13 is like an all OA district with the exception of Birmingham Brother Rice. You got Berkeley, Southfield, Grove, Seaholm, Bloomfield Hills, Royal Oak, and Troy to go along with Brother Rice in that district. I mean, be an interesting district because you got some good teams in here. You got Troy, who I think could be a very dangerous team. Southfield, of course, how they merged. Of course, a lot of the kids were from Southfield Lathrop. Of course, you got Groves and Seaholm in here. They're always good. So we'll see what happens in that one. Region 4, District 14, of course, you got West Bloomfield, North Farmington, Lakeland, Milford, Heartland, and the Walled Lakes, Northern, Central, and Western in this district. So this one here is very unique because West Bloomfield, North Farmington, of course, makes a lot of sense to put them together. But I'm a little curious to see how they would do with the Walled Lakes, Lakeland, Milford, and Heartland. Of course, Heartland's an odd one because of where they're at in Livingston County. But like I said in the day, it's an interesting district over there, Region 4, District 14 over there. Region 4, District 15, of course, this is a district a lot of people get familiar with. It's Clarkston, Orion, Oxford, Rochester, Adams, Stony Creek, Waterford, Kettering, Waterford, Mott. When you look at this one here, of course, the Rochester schools are going to be very good. They always have been good. And you look at that region, that district, it's going to be pretty unique to see how they basically are formed and all that. So, Stony Creek, I would have to say early favorite. But you also got to look at the possibility that I think if a Rochester school doesn't win it, I'd be shocked. Let's go to Division 2, of course. Region 6, District 24, of course, you got Farmington here in this district. You got, and also joining the Falcons will be Dearborn Devon Child, Garden City, Detroit Renaissance, Redford Thurston, Redford Union, South Lyon, and South Lyon East. Very interesting how they would put those teams together in like a interesting little district. So, Detroit Renaissance, of course, we know very athletic, very talented as always. But I still think South Lyon East will be very interesting. Farmington soccer will be decent heading into the season next year. So, that's a very interesting district, to say the least. Let's go to Region 7, District 25. Of course, this one here has Harrison, Hazel Park, Detroit Country Day, Warren Fitzgerald, Orchard Lake St. Mary's, Cranbrook Kingswood, and Madison Heights Lamphere. This one here, of course, Harrison, Hazel Park, not too well known to soccer powers. You look at teams like Detroit Country Day, and Orchard Lake St. Mary's is the powerhouse teams here, but you never know. So, you never know. Region 7, District 27, of course, this is where Avondale and Pontiac are in. Of course, Pontiac going down to Division 2 based on student enrollment. You got Avondale, Pontiac Notre Dame Prep, Armada, Yale, Goodrich, Brandon, and North Branch. Very interesting. A lot of urban areas in this district. So this will be an interesting one to keep an eye on, no doubt about that. And then, of course, last but not least, go to Division 3. Of course, you look at this one. Here in Division 3. Of course, you got Region 11, District 41. When you got Ferndale, Clawson, Detroit Jalen Rose Academy, Detroit University Prep, Dearborn Advanced Technology, Hamtramck Frontier International, Livonia Clarenceville, and Livonia, and of course, you got Harper Woods. This is an interesting one because you got a lot of charter schools here, and then of course you got Ferndale, Clawson, and Livonia, Clarenceville, and Harper Woods. So a lot of interesting dynamics set up here in this district. So, but like I said, I think that who knows? I mean, this is a wide open district here heading into the year. So, and of course we do not have the volleyball and basketball districts out yet. We will have a full out OAA Now special on the districts, volleyball, girls basketball, and boys basketball being released in about a week and a half or 2 weeks from today. So keep tuned to that special on the districts for volleyball, girls basketball, and boys basketball being released. Of course, that'll be, the MHA will release some after the baseball, softball tournament. They'll probably have one more week of the MHA meetings and all that before they do release the districts, before they go on their summer break. But, I did do some projections based on the districts, what they should look like. And I didn't evaluate based on enrollment, but basically what they should look like. District 1A, I wrote down, this would be a district I think would make sense. It would be Southfield, Oak Park, Berkeley, Royal Oak, Detroit Renaissance. The reason why I said it's a 5-teamer is because I think that end of the day, I really do like that they're close to each other, makes sense. Detroit Renaissance, kind of like the outlier. I think it does make some sense here into this situation to bring in to have this type of district. It doesn't change much. You bring Royal Oak back, after they spent a year east. So, end of the day, I think this makes sense here. District 1B, got Rochester, Stony Creek, Utica Eisenhower, Utica Ford, and Romeo. I think you bring in Ford into this, Ford and Romeo make a lot of sense because you look at Ford, what they have. Ford usually is a good basketball power, but I think in the end of the day, I think that this makes a lot of sense based on a geographical standpoint. And to bring in Romeo, of course, I thought about Romeo putting him in District 1C, but I just think what made a lot more sense was to possibly put a team like Adams down there in that district and bring Romeo back from where they were at this year, which is absolutely horrifying with where they had to go with Port Huron, Northern Macomb, Dakota. I mean, that's difficult to say the least there. So especially on a geographical standpoint. District 1C, I got Orion, Clarkson, Oxford, Adams, Waterford, Kettering, Waterford, Mott. Not much change here with the exception of Adams coming in. And I thought about taking Clarkson out, putting him west or northwest, but end of the day, this makes a lot of sense. District 1D, I got Troy, Athens, Pontiac, Avondale, Bloomfield Hills. Move Bloomfield Hills out of that district with Groves and Seaholm because you look at that situation, how that is built. It's difficult to say the least there with that one, but I think Bloomfield Hills would make a lot more sense in that district with Avondale, Pontiac, and the Troy schools. District 1E, you got Groves, Seaholm, West Bloomfield, North Farmington, Orchard Lake, St. Mary's, Marion, / Brother Rice. Makes sense there, as I mentioned. Got Orchard Lake, St. Mary's, West Bloomfield rivalry there. And you got Groves and Seaholm with Marion and Brother Rice. So, kind of makes sense there. District 1F, Farmington Hills, Harrison, Mercy, Livonia Churchill, Livonia Stevenson, Livonia Franklin. This makes sense because you look at Livonia, how they're set and situated there. I think it makes a lot more sense to put into that dynamic, the Livonia schools with the Farmington schools. They're close by. Makes a lot of sense. And then last but not least, District 1G, Class B, Ferndale, Hazel Park, Detroit Central Collegiate Prep, Warren Fitzgerald, Detroit Collegiate Prep, and Detroit Mumford. Same district as last year. I think it makes sense for them. You know what I mean? The enrollment ain't going to change much, and we'll see what happens there. So those are my projections for the districts. Of course, last but not least, we've got some news surrounding Oak Park. Of course, Oak Park expect to name a head coach this week for boys basketball. A lot of names been mentioned. This will be their 8th coach in 9 years. Of course, I got 4 interesting candidates. Of course, Jamie Arnold formerly played at Oak Park in the 1980s, 1990s. Al Catella, another coaching candidate, former Oak Park coach, who I think could be in the running. Bobby Thompson. I personally think Bobby Thompson would be my favorite to be the next coach. Employee at Oak Park School District, former River Rouge coach. Makes a lot of sense. He knows the program inside out. He'll be there for the long haul. I think Bobby Thompson makes a lot of sense. And last but not least, the wild card in this is Ben Kelso. Because Kelso, formerly coach at Pontiac, coach at Waterford Kettering, formerly coach at Southfield. I mean, end of the day, when you look at the situation there, if Kelso gets the job at Oak Park, he probably would want total, complete control of that program. And I don't know if Carter's ready to give that program total, complete control. I really don't know if he's ready to give that program complete control. If he goes Catilla, it'll be the first time. It'll be a reunion of sorts for the Oak Park system. Of course, there's been a lot of reunitings with coaches around the league. Of course, you got Steve Blaylock at Oxford, Jim Manzo at Lake Orion, Tim Morton at Avondale, all back into coaching. Bobby Thompson's an interesting one. If Bobby Thompson does get the job, I like that hire. But, he's also an employee of the school district. He had a son that played at Oak Park. So this would be interesting. But Jamie Arnold, not a bad name either. So, like I said, I think there's 4 good candidates here. Like I said before, we're going to keep an eye on the coaching situation at Oak Park and who they name their head coach over at Oak Park. And, of course, it's interesting because this is the last week of school for a lot of people. Of course, this is the last time that we would hear the name Southfield Lathrop as a school before they merge with Southfield next year. And, a lot of good memories of the 2015-2016 year. Of course, it'll be officially the last week of school for the kids, and they get to go on their summer vacations for about 10 weeks. Now, most of them, some of them are going to be getting ready for football season. Some are going to be getting ready for volleyball season. So, like I said, job well done to the seniors for graduating this year, and we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Hang into next year. Of course, we'll still be here OAA Now. We'll still be here getting live coverage throughout the state of Michigan and also the entire OAA. So, we'll see what happens. Right now, everybody, I'm signing off here. We'll keep an eye on the Oak Park coaching situation. Also, the Pontiac coaching situation. We didn't mention that. Of course, who would be candidates there at Pontiac. And also what comes up in the quarterfinals of baseball, softball, and the semifinals and finals of girls soccer. And also we got the state finals this weekend for both baseball and softball, along with the semifinals. So keep an eye on a lot of sports to be covered in this final week of the Michigan High School Athletic Association season. And who knows if the OA will be well represented in the semifinals or finals in softball and baseball, and also girls soccer. So who knows? So we'll see what happens. Keep an eye on it all, as we always will. Right now I'm signing off here. Good night. God bless. And also make sure everybody here, of course, stay safe on the water. Of course, it's gonna be great summer. Should be a great summer vacation, and congratulations to seniors. So signing off. Good night. God bless, and we'll see you next week.
OAA Now is produced at Orion Neighborhood Television, Lake Orion's community media outlet. To learn more about ONTV, visit our website at www.orionontv.org or call us at 248-393-1060.